Lorraine Wilde's Great Wheel of Style illustrates how style repeatedly drifts from high to low culture and back again, almost like an undertow. In an interview with I magazine in 2000, Wilde suggested that style and a universally agreed upon notion of good design are intertwined. Good design creates intrigue and gets consumed by the mass market, which hijacks and superficially proliferates form devoid of its context. This results in cliché, embarrassment, then death, followed by fetishism, revival, and curiosity. Visual aesthetics in motion and graphic design also circulate endlessly in this design circle. Cutouts are a unique design element that has been returning again and again for decades. Originally appearing in Matisse and avant-garde artists, it gained universal popularity in Dada, returned in the wave of punk rock, and repeated in grunge, dying out and gaining popularity again in the present day. How universally the use of cutted object is in today's lecture. The punk wave style is characterized by an abundance of amateurish black and white photos surrounded by typographic clutter. All the captions are broken, laid out without a grid, cut out in pieces from various magazines like the letters of a criminal in a thriller. Often the overall colorism of the collage is twisted into a duplex, separation into two colors. One of them is a bright pale pink or, for example, lattice green, as we see in some of the illustrations. Why is it so happened? Early punk, grunge album covers and concert flyers were printed on Xerox, not because of devotion to the DIY ideology, but because of economic necessity. Bands had extremely little money. Increased use of Macintosh computers for self-publishing and digital imaging made new impulse to the DIY aesthetic in the period of grunge music. All in all, outside of music, this style is sometimes introduced as grunge typography. A famous example of experimental grunge design was Ray Gun magazine by one of the founders of the graphic style, art director David Carson. He developed the technique of tearing, shredding, and redrawing letters, using overprinted, disharmonious letters, and experimental design including deliberate errors in the layout. In his work, Carson used haphazard and chaotic design and didn't follow classical rules of composition, guided by a practical, personal, and intuitive method. Grunge image design has a realistic, authentic look, which is created by imitating turned paper, frayed corners, creases, yellowed tape, coffee stains, hand-drawn images, and handwritten words, usually over a dirty background texture. Images done in dull, muted colors. Photos for collage are also used gloomy or blurry. A very interesting work in this style is the design of the Poetry Festival by the agency B Communication. Despite the dark and dirty mood of this trend, the designers managed to make a bright, colorful collage with familiar punk attributes. The work of illustrator Ricardo Santos, done in grunge design with less emphasis on typography and more focus on the combination of colorful shapes and photos. Bands of the 2000s, like Green Day in the wave of interest of pop-punk, sometimes used the graphic style of punk wave in videos. A deep composition of papers, layers, or imitating this depth with cutouts graphics is called a deep cut. Open Web refers this style in the context of motion design to the concept of strata stencil. Strata stencil is an additive stop-motion animation technique developed by artist Javan Ivey, a technique where stencils, usually cut out of paper, are layered on top of each other to create a paper tunnel-like effect. In this way, you can see previous and past frames. In addition to creating a halo effect, strata stencil also creates the feeling that the animation is moving away from the viewer. In graphic design, however, there is no such concept, and the term deep cut is appropriate to emphasize the layered composition of the image. This technique is often used in product promo, as well as in commercial focused on kids' themes. The example of the UK film studio advertisement is intended to show the secrets and scale of the company through the detailed world of film. If Picasso is to be believed, good artists borrow, great artists steal, and brilliant designers create a system to do both more effectively. Nor surprisingly, this phrase perfectly characterizes the whole postmodernism. As such fully developed design system can be called the Matisse-esque style. It imitates the work of the artist Henri Matisse through his signature colorism. The aesthetic also inherits a new antiqua as a typeface group and a retro air style of composition. There is almost no ideology in the direction. The main focus is the specific combination of colors. That's why the style often looks favorably in interior design or package design, which helps distinguish it on the store shelf. In addition to color, the individual collage style catches the eye in Neo-Matisse. Throughout his career, Henri Matisse used scissors and paper to map out compositions for his paintings and illustrations. He found cutouts to be a useful tool for sketching his work. They allowed him to rearrange, fix, and place colors and shapes according to his taste. Bait Chocolate's magical and nurturing identity, hoping to captivate both children and their parents. Samsung advertising. Credits for the 2015 Blanc Festival of Graphic Design in Barcelona. Italy-based design studio ILO created the video Biodiversity for Nature.org. It is part of a series of 4 videos exploring the things we can all do to preserve our planet. The design team explored the importance of biodiversity, diving into the variety and the links that are vital for this natural, delicate balance. They captured everything from insects and plants to landscapes and rotten oranges in Matisse-esque style. Paper cutouts do not necessarily belong to any particular style with its laws of typography and color palette. To animate flayed figures cut out of paper, cardboard or fabric, it is sufficient to apply the most common technique of overlapping stop motion. This technique is often used to lower production costs and reduce shooting time. The advantage of this animation is its ease, since it doesn't require each frame to be rendered. Some animators, using the shifting technique, create highly artistic works, such as Yuri Norstein's Hedgehog in the Fog. Beginning with the cartoon Heron and Crane, Yuri Norstein began using a machine of his own design, consisting of several glass tires, which allowed him to achieve depth in the image frame. That's why the space of Norstein's cartoons seems bottomless and permitted with light. Sometimes the frame with animation can include the hands of a specialist, as in the titles for the wonderful series with Jim Carrey, Kidding. instruction from The Guardian.
A digital currency to work without the middlemen, then the way the world economy functions could be transformed for the better.
Today, cutout animation is often created using a computer with scanned images or vector graphics replacing the physically cut material. South Park is a prime example of this transition, as its pilot episode was made with classic paper clippings even before the transition to computer software. Titles for show talk on the Russian TV channel TNT. A music video of System of a Down. Another separate genre without any offline preparation is related to cropped faces from digital photos and overlaying, replacing them on the finished footage. In this video, the faces are overlaid on a series of photos, while in this one, the swapping is done in the finished video using a software script. Nowadays, design using cutouts doesn't lose its relevance and fun. It can become the basis for works of art with a completely different mood and message. The unpretentious frivolity of cutouts tends you to frankness that can be interesting for the conceptual use of the technique.